Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. And first of all, a big hello to Daniela Muente, because this podcast has been the soundtrack to her runs for many months now, and I recently connected with her, and I saw she was working for a company called Blue Wireless, and on her LinkedIn there was also content from a tech conference in the Netherlands, a real live in-person tech conference, complete with setting up show booths, chatting to people on the show floor and everything. Man, I miss days like that. So instead of being the soundtrack to her runs, I said, we need to get you on the podcast too. And although Daniela couldn't join us today, she did send her CEO, Ivan Landen, on the show to join us. And Blue Wireless was founded in Singapore back in 2015 to solve what was missing in the market, which was a flexible connectivity solution and a provider able to guide enterprise customers and simplify their connectivity journey to focus on their business. And since then, Blue Wireless has actually grown its presence with offices across Asia Pacific, Europe, US, etc., to serve over 80 countries with LTE and 5G connectivity. And in the last year, they've doubled their customer base. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the Netherlands, where Blue Wireless CEO Ivan Landen is going to be sharing the Blue Wireless story, along with a discussion about wired versus wireless connections, how businesses can get that connection that they need when they have an event in the middle of a field, and so much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely, Neil. Thank you so much for having me on. My name is Ivan Landen. I lead a company called Blue Wireless. And what do we do for a living? Well, we connect customers, business customers, and we especially connect them in difficult to reach locations. So that's already in the name. We use wireless technology, lately 5G, most of it, to connect customers that need connectivity for their business operations. And we have been doing that for the last 7 years. So we were early in the game of 5G. But yeah, today it's really going pretty fast as a company.
It really just seemed to be. I've seen you guys a lot on LinkedIn recently. Did you have a booth somewhere at a tech conference?
Yep, of course. LinkedIn is the way to get our message out there, right? Nowadays for most businesses. But we just came off our recent event last week, which was very nice to do again. And I think there was a lot of overdue demand for people who just wanted to see each other again. This was in Rotterdam in a place called Europort. It is the bi-yearly, once every 2 years, they bring together all the maritime customers. So yeah, as we also now are expanding into the maritime sector, this was a good opportunity for us to show what we can do to connect not just on land, but also near shore vessels to give them an alternative to their satellite connections.
I'm curious, what was that like being back on a showroom floor and speaking with people face to face? Because I think we all kind of miss that now, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah. So we really enjoyed it. It's pretty tiring, right? Being 4 days on the booth and talking to every customer and explaining again and again. But that reminds me of the old-fashioned sales approach, right? One customer at a time. But I think the energy was definitely there, and it was really surprising to see how many people from all over Europe, from Latvia to Greece to everywhere, they're all there. So nice. Yeah, it's. Anyway, let's see how long we can continue this with all the things going up and down. But at least that week we got it in.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And so I think especially because so much has changed in the last 2 years, but I want to take you back in time to where it all began. I mean, can you share your origin story, where your passion for technology came from, and what it was that put you on this path you're on today?
Yeah. Well, how far do you want me to go back? Because as a small kid, I was a bit of a nerd, so that helps, right? With the Sinclair days. Even I was, plugging it into the black and white TV. But never mind. That was a long time ago. No, it really started. I mean, professionally, I've been working in telecommunications, for the last 25 years, and connectivity is so important. I think it's that's an obvious statement, right? But it is still, for many businesses, complicated and takes too long, and it's too expensive to get their business locations connected. And so I work for large global telcos, including BT, British Telecom. But I saw the opportunity that after basically in the last few years, that wireless technology, of course, being used on mobile phones, what everybody is doing, but it is starting to become a serious alternative to replace wired connections. And with the advent of 5G, and you're going to see more of that in the next few years, right? I mean, a wireless connection at home is just going to be as obvious as a wired connection. Although most people don't really know the difference. They think Wi-Fi is is what they buy, but actually, how it works is that every single location needs to be fibered up, right? So there needs to be a physical cable that goes to your home or to your office. Now, home and offices are not too much of a problem, but if you're a construction site, or you are a wind farm, or you are, in the energy sector, getting cables to all those locations is pretty complicated and expensive. And that's really where we came in and said, look, wireless technology is out there. Mobile networks are getting better and faster and cheaper. Why don't we use that technology to connect those locations and make it easy for customers to have a alternative for their wired lines?
So that path led you to Blue Wireless, where you are now. So can you tell me a little bit more about your startup journey at Blue Wireless?
It was a true, and it is, was and is a true startup journey in that sense. So, I started in the bedroom, employee number one, and like many startup founders, you have this idea in your head about how it should be. It should be plug and play. It should be, fast, cheap, all these things. So that was really the thing that I had in mind. I knew the enterprise space, the telco space, where I've been working, in the corporate side. And we just started, we as in, my co-founding partner, the two of us started putting the things together to make it happen. Slowly, one customer at a time. I was based in Singapore. He was based in Sydney. But we both have a Dutch background and a good working relationship for a long time. So that was really the starting point to reach out to enterprise customers, to large corporate customers, and say, hey, how can we help you to connect more of your locations? And the thing that was immediately clear was like, well, if you're talking to corporate customers, the DHLs and the Nestle's of the world, they're everywhere. So, if you want to be successful with these companies, you need to be able to offer a service that not only works in one country, but works in the whole region, and ideally global. So, which is, of course, is very ambitious to say day one with two people to say, yep, we're going to build a global company. But that was what we've set out to do. And, it's work in progress.
And essentially, you saw this market opportunity with digital transformation in so many different industries. So can you expand on how the 5G boom and how enterprises are looking for alternatives to telcos, and also the challenges that they're coming across when it comes to connectivity? You mentioned a few there about the cable thing. And I, in a former life, I was an IT guy, and I've spent time on the Olympic Park. I think it was back in 2012, and various events in the middle of a field that had tills and EPOS systems and computers that all needed connecting to something. It's incredibly difficult in the middle of a field. But can you expand on that to people that don't really realize these kind of challenges?
Absolutely. So the beauty of it is there is a lot of technology out there, right? And the mobile operators, they're building, fantastic networks. So everybody uses it every day without thinking about it, right? Your mobile phones, you drive around, it keeps on working. It's amazing. And obviously they're pouring, ever more money into building those networks. But to get something working on the ground and get it consistently working, that's the challenge, right? So you can buy a SIM card, but then what happens next? So that's where we come in, and we saw that challenge as specifically for, as I said, the larger corporate customers. So they might have multiple warehouses in multiple countries, and one are very remote and the others are close to the city. How do you get all that stuff connected? So what we set out to do is really say, look, we take the technology as it is, and we combine it into a service that works for customers. So we're a service provider. Which is not it's really the getting your hands dirty and getting things working for customers, but doing that consistently is what the challenge is. So the problem is not the technology. All the options are out there. The problem is having a person showing up at the right time, opening the door so it can be plugged in. Those type of practical things is what we work on every day to make, as we call it, service delivery smooth, right? I mean, it's with all the things, the Amazons of the world, they have the same thing, right? Getting that package to your door is not the click on the website. That's, of course, there's a lot of that. There's still technology in there, but getting those things packed and getting those things shipped and making sure that you're being kept up to date, all those things, that's what hard work is.
I was going to say, and just to demystify wireless, which is often considered as a backup only solution by some people, can you tell me a bit more about why it is actually becoming a primary option for so many industries now?
That's true. Yeah. So, I mean, this is really where it all started, right? In the beginning, obviously, we had to explain, where, hey, is this stuff really going to work, right? It's for my phone. And yeah, sometimes when I drive, I get dropped calls. I mean, I cannot run my business on that. But as I said, the technology evolves, right? There was the 3G days. Now we got 4G, 5G. The networks are getting better. Performance is great. I mean, performance is often better than on definitely better than on copper lines, right? So the people who are still on DSL or those type of technologies, they can immediately benefit from upgrading to 4G, 5G solutions. But in the beginning, this was really a backup solution, right? Hey, we need something just in case. But as we started to work with more customers in the, like I said, in the energy, in the mining, wind farms, solar farms, fish farms, that's the only thing out there. So, with the right setup and antennas and a bit of work and configuration from our side, it really became a primary connection. And that's their lifeline, right? For a lot of these businesses that are operating in areas that normally people don't think about it because they're living in residential areas, right? But if you go to any business locations outside of the normal metro areas, there isn't a lot of options.
Yeah.
There's new options coming in satellite and those type of things, but usually it's still a bit of futureware. So the thing that works today is 4G and 5G. It's here, it's working, it's reliable. And so our job is to really make it happen for customers.
And I think for so many of your customers and so many businesses out there, connectivity is not just a lifeline, it's almost the lifeblood of a business. So do you have any use cases that would just help people listening understand the difference that you're making and the kind of problems that you're solving for them? Because, as you said, it's scattered across multiple industries, but I just wondered if you had a use case to bring that to life. Oh, yeah,
there's lots of construction sites that we connect. So construction sites have transformed in the last 20 years, right? There's no more blueprints and all that, right? There's no more. Yeah. Of course, there's still maps and drawings, but everything is online, right? So even access control, right? So you cannot go into a construction site without going through some kind of scanner or gantry or something. Yeah, those things need to be connected. CCTV cameras, those need to be connected. It is just a full office connectivity is required at those locations. So that one is the one where we really clearly see it's well, I wouldn't say life or death, but it's night and day in terms of getting getting a construction site connected, and how important it is for the success of a project. So the ones that really was kind of our first segment of the market where we got most of the business, which is construction. And since then, it has been expanded into more and more sectors. So retail is definitely one. Although retailers are usually in locations that have good connectivity, there's a couple of things that retailers are facing. I mean, and especially in the last 2 years, is the need for flexibility. And things are constantly changing. So they want flexibility. They want to be opening up pop-up stores or temporary or events, or they're sitting in a mall and they don't want to be, paying, very high rates to the mall operators to get their line in. There is tons of reasons why businesses want a more flexible solution. And I mean, I live in Asia, and there's, it's a mobile first economy already, right? Every coffee shop just operates on an iPad, right? You don't need a fixed line to run your business. Any device that is wirelessly connected can power up your operations.
And again, that's such a great point. When a lot of people hear about 5G, when they see something advertised on TV, it's always compared to how fast they can download a box set of Netflix on there. But it's great to hear cases beyond that. So do you have any use cases for driving the adoption of 5G across these different industries too? Because again, that's where the magic happens. And it's so much more than how quickly or how fast you can download Netflix, isn't it?
It's true. So I mean, everybody's looking for the holy grail of what makes 5G different, right? I mean, I think what we've seen from customers, at least from business customers, is that they feel that, hey, with 5G, it's now business ready. It's reliable enough to run my business on, where it wasn't the case for 3, and 4 is maybe halfway there. So with 5, I think it has this confidence level. But if you look at the actual applications, I mean, sometimes it's just point of sale, right? Nothing special. But, so it doesn't all have to be flying cars and all those things, right? Because the reality of the business is, they're doing the things that they want to do, checking their customers, getting their orders out. I mean, that's what 90% of the business is out there. Now, there is a couple of cool things, of course, that can be done with 5G, and that's really in the area of robotics. We're doing quite a few of those in Singapore, where there's autonomous robots, right? Those little carts that are just driving around delivering food. And again, for them, number one element is reliability. That's the number one thing. It's not even the speed that is the most important, it's the reliability. So we've seen, yes, you can download 1 gig of data. That's great. But yeah, who needs that? I mean, but it will come. I'm sure, that this is the thing with data. It's the demand keeps on increasing. But for what we've seen for business customers, the differentiating element is the reliability. If I'm, trusting my business on this, I want to make sure this works all the time.
And for people that are listening here and wondering what the future is going to look like, especially because we're recording this towards the end of a year, and we're starting to have one eye on the following year, what things are going to happen. Yep. What kind of opportunities do you see for companies as 5G continues to evolve and more use cases develop?
Yeah, I think it's freeing up a lot of the probably not with the existing businesses, right? But I see there's a lot of innovation, just new entrepreneurs that come with new crazy ideas, right? That say, look, there's other one of drones, of course. It's all coming together, right? So one is an example of a drone. I mean, a drone by itself is not okay. It's just a piece of machinery, right? But if you can use a drone to map buildings or map areas and give that information immediately in 3D back to your business. Again, 5G makes a difference there because it's reliable, it's high speed. Yeah, those type of new business models are not even possible on the traditional, wired lines or on 3, 4G. So I think for innovation, we need to look at new entrepreneurs that think differently, not from the big telcos. I think their job is to build networks that work and let solution providers and new businesses create new things on that. But yeah, having a flexible and reliable and hopefully cost-effective, communication capability, that is a great foundation to do more for any business.
And what about yourselves? I mean, you've already been back on the tech conference scene. You've had a booth there. You've met with people in person. What's next for Blue Wireless in terms of portfolio, coverage, customers, partnership? I appreciate it's probably not too much you can share, but is there anything you can?
No. Look, we have been, we're a young company, so we're now in our 7th year, and we've started in Asia, right? We've expanded into Europe 3 years ago. Feels like a lifetime ago, but now this year was really all about our expansion in the Americas. So we opened up our office in the US, and now we're expanding into Latin America. And we're trying to fill in, for us, it's really about creating that additional coverage into the countries that our customer are at. Right. So yes, it's not that exciting to connect a site in the UK or in France, but we have customers that operate in Bolivia or in Mongolia, right? That's really where you can make a difference for their customers, and it's really where they usually have most of the pain in their business to get things done. So for us, we really concentrate on getting more countries. Technology doesn't change much. I mean, yes, 5G is here. We do it every day. But doing it consistently and our service model is getting that service in within 5 to 10 working days anywhere in the world. That's really what we invest in terms of our in company and people. So when our customers come, they need something, doesn't matter where, Blue Wireless can deliver, and it's about 80 plus countries now we cover with a single contract, with a single way of working. So again, if you're a global customer, this is really, really powerful because you don't need to deal with yet another telco or yet another, way of working. It works the same everywhere.
Love that, and love chatting with you today. Now, before I let you go, though, we did start today's conversation talking about your origin story. What put you here? I'm now going to have a bit of fun and ask you, what was the soundtrack to your origin story? What has accompanied you on your tech career? And obviously, you're in the Netherlands, so I would think, what we got Candy Dulfer, is it, and Tiesto?
I like those as well. Definitely. I had to think back, and we, you mentioned there's a Spotify playlist. We actually have a Spotify playlist of Blue Wireless, and one song I like in there to really get the energy going is "Mr. Blue Sky" by Electric Light Orchestra.
Oh man, that's a
bit of an oldie,
choice.
But
yeah. Does that remind you of anything on your career? Is there a story there, or just something that brushes away the cobwebs and makes you feel good?
No, it just makes us feel good, and this is one of those to get the blood flowing. And in the early days, we just had to. No, not early days, ongoing. We like to put songs out there that that give us energy and keep us going.
Yeah, Mr. Blue Sky and Blue Wireless. Seems like the perfect combination to me.
Go.
But before I let you go, for anyone listening wants to find out more information about Blue Wireless there, or want to get in touch with your team or ask any questions, what's the best starting point? How do they find you all online?
Absolutely. You can look at bluewireless.com. And there's a lot of companies, but we are the ones that have bluewireless.com in our URL. You can look me up on LinkedIn, IVAN, Ivan, last name Landen. And yeah, that's probably the easiest way to get connected. And we're global. So whether it's in the US or Europe or in Asia, we got people in offices everywhere. So happy to support.
And that's one of the reasons I was quite excited to get you on the podcast today, because Blue Wireless has grown your presence with offices across Asia Pacific, Europe, US, serving 80 countries with LTE and 5G connectivity. And I think in the last year, you've doubled your customer base too. But it's great to hear the story behind that, your love and passion for connectivity, and which is that lifeline and lifeblood for every business now. And it's your human story and washed down with a great song as well that has made it a very memorable one for me. So thank you for taking the time for sharing it with me today.
Great. Thank you, Neil.
One of the things I love about recording this podcast is the role that serendipity plays in how things work out, not just on this podcast as well, but everywhere in life. I mean, in this example, Daniela discovered this tech podcast on her runs, connected with me, And that led to Ivan, their CEO of Blue Wireless, joining me for a chat today. And it's that series of happy accidents and the story of technology bringing people together that is the gold for me. But more than anything, just a big thank you to Ivan for coming on and sharing their startup story and how those Blue Wireless founders came from a telco world. And they knew what the faults and limitations were when it came to customer service, flexibility, and even connectivity, and went out to create a solution and fix that problem. But over to you. We've covered a lot of ground today, so if there's anything that you'd like to share after listening to the podcast, maybe I'm the soundtrack to your run and you want to come on the podcast or connect me with your CEO, whatever it might be, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn at Neil C. Hughes, and my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. If you do need help with business blogs, starting your own podcast, or you just want to browse through 2,000 interviews, whatever it might be, keep those messages coming in, and I'll be back tomorrow. So thank you so much for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.